What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today we're going to talk about instinctive eating, survival mechanisms of the body, deficiencies. We're going to run through a whole gambit of things. And this is coming about because today it's like, 3 days before the LA Fit Expo. About 3 weeks ago, so it's going to be about a 4-week total, I started to do a new diet, one that I constructed myself. I wasn't working with a trainer or a coach or anything like that. And coming back from the rotator cuff and the bicep injury, I kind of stepped back and said, I need to, get back into the best shape that I can possibly get into. I can't train the way that I normally used to train. There's no way I'm going to be able to go as heavy as I used to. It's just, those days are behind me. I won't be injury free anymore. I need to kind of reinvent myself as far as training and dieting and stuff like that. And it's always good to try something new that I hadn't tried before. And so, you know what? It's time to try. I've taken instinctive dieting where I had macros set. So I had, let's say, for instance, 40 grams of protein, 35 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat per meal. And every time I was hungry, I ate that. So whether it was 6 meals a day, 10 meals a day, didn't matter. When I was hungry, I ate. Okay, so that would be instinctive eating with macros. But I never tried instinctive eating without counting macros. Now, there still has to be a bit of control and measuring in there, but it doesn't have to necessarily be your macros. Now, eating the same way that I eat consistently day in and day out for years, you're pretty much eating the same macros. You're pretty much eating the same calories, same amount of grams of protein, same amount of grams of fat, same amount of carbs, unless you're doing some kind of carb cycling thing or whatever the case may be. So counting your macros, at that point, there's really no point. You already know what they are every day. Now, could you actually get your body to change without actually having to count the macros? That was what the challenge was. And I remember Sean Ray and Kevin Levrone, Lee Haney, those guys actually didn't count macros. They didn't sit down and figure out, because there was no MyFitnessPal or any of these apps and shit, so they would have to sit down from a fucking book and try to look this shit up to get, what macros were in what foods. And even then, back in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't a list of every single macro and nutrient that's in a friggin' piece of food. So there's no way to really know what you were taking in to begin with. So I said, all right, so how am I going to do this? So now, first of all, I went back to fruit as my source of carbohydrates during the day, complex carbs only right after my workout, which allowed me to replenish liver glycogen faster and easier, which is what pretty much is used for your daily activities. And then as you're training, muscle glycogen gets used more than the liver glycogen, so you replace that faster and easier using complex carbohydrates. So there was a kind of a food combining, I guess you could say, or a macronutrient combining of when to eat them. So it's a meal timing macronutrient thing, not necessarily meal timing as in there's a window of opportunity here or there. It's whatever's easiest for the body to get the fastest results. So the body has to work put the least amount of stress on the body. So what I did was I started out with offhand, I'd have to look back at my notes because I didn't count the macros, but let's say I started out with 5 ounces of mango for, 5 meals a day. So what I would do is I would maintain with that 5 ounces of mango for a week. Then I would pull it down to 4 ounces of mango. Then I would pull it down to 3 ounces of mango as the weeks went along. Then 2 ounces of mango. Then carb cycle. Then eventually drop into keto, which is where I've been. I wouldn't say I've been in keto, but I've been extremely low carb some days higher carbs, some days refeeds. So it depended, but I didn't have to measure the macros. I didn't have to count the macros because I knew that 5 ounces of pineapple was what I was needing to maintain my physique. So now if I drop to 4 ounces, I'm going to be in some kind of carbohydrate deficit, and I don't even know per ounce how many macros are in per ounce, how many grams of carbs are in per ounce, but I knew that would be enough to get my body to change. As I increased cardio, because I started doing cardio twice a day, that 4-week time frame, you want to, change dramatically, there's no time to waste. You have to make sure that you're fucking doing the right things. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to increase my cardio to this, and I'm going to carb cycle. I'm going to use specific carbohydrates, but I'm not going to count the macros. And lo and behold, eventually I noticed the body fat coming down, and I was getting leaner, and I started to get in better and better shape. And I said, you know what, I hadn't even counted a single macro. If you ask me how many grams of protein I'm taking in a day, I don't know. If you ask me how many grams of carbs I'm taking in a day, I don't know. How many grams of fat, I don't know. But I could tell you how many ounces of pineapple I was eating, or I could tell you how many scoops of protein powder. So you're still measuring, but you're not actually measuring macros, which is what the old school guys did quite a bit, in the late 80s, early 90s, before all of the macro counting came out. So is it detrimental to count your macros to a T to get results? No, it is not. That's what I just proved with this whole thing. Is it detrimental to progress at the fastest rate, counting your macros? I'd say I progressed pretty fucking fast in the last 4 weeks. I mean, I didn't weigh myself. That's another thing. I didn't go near a scale, which usually can play head games with you because it fluctuates. So you're not really knowing day to day what you're really at. So there's much more chance of you making a mistake by saying, okay, I didn't drop any weight for the last 2 days. I'm going to really drop my carbs, fucking, 4 ounces of pineapple. I'm going to go down to 1 now because I want to cut my carbs. But you didn't really need that because your metabolism was picking up, but it just didn't show up on the scale. So I stayed away from the scale and I went by what I saw in the mirror. And leaner. I mean, am I stronger? I mean, I'm about as strong as I was, but I'm not going to be pushing my body to the limit like I was before training with the weights that I was anyway. So I'm maintaining my strength, got leaner. At the same time, my waist significantly reduced. I mean, I must have lost, and again, so I didn't even measure my waist, but all my pants are loose, my underwear is loose, my fucking shorts are loose, everything is loose, and they were all tight 4 weeks ago. And, I figured if I can't have the mass rolling into the LA Fit Expo, I want to be able to wear a tank top at the expo and stuff like that, and be lean enough, and round enough, and full enough, and still people go, well, fuck, he's not as big as he was, but he looks fucking good. That was the whole idea. Reinvent myself, try something new. And that brings me to some other things that I was thinking about. Instinctive dieting, instinctively. Now, there really hasn't been any studies on this shit. So it's, why would there be? Nobody really gives a fuck. So it's like, why would you even bother putting any time and effort into it? But there's a lot of times where people will get sick of eating a certain food. Now, I myself will go ground turkey for I just fucking ground turkey. Or when I was competing, it was like tilapia. The tilapia was easy to make. It went down easy. I could chew it up quick. I was always busy at work, so it was like I could literally just fucking put it in my mouth and swallow it with a glass of water, and it would go down. Some people like tuna, but there comes a point where you get sick of that food. Now, many people seem to think, well, I'm sick of it because I've had it every day, and what's really happened is I'm mentally burned out on the food. And what I've actually come to find out is a lot of times your body knows something that's going on that you don't know. And you may rationalize things to the point where it seems logical, but you never look deeper to see, okay, what is the actual reason that this is happening? You getting sick of a food is not necessarily like, I just don't want to have it anymore. There is a buildup of certain amino acids that you would get from fish because of the ratios of the amino acids that you would actually, in the long run, over a certain period of time, be deficient in other amino acids that are not in abundance in the fish. So now next thing your brain tells you, I don't want the fish anymore. So, this is a perfect example. I was on turkey. All of a sudden I was like, and it just seemed like out of the blue, I was just like, fuck, I don't want turkey anymore. Like, I'm tired of turkey. I went and got tilapia. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I don't even want, and I had turkey and tilapia to mix it up. Next thing you know, I don't want the turkey anymore. I just want the tilapia. So the tilapia gets kind of like, I'm fucking sick of the tilapia. And it takes me like 4, 5, 6 weeks to get to that point. So there's definitely a build up. And if you look at, toxins and stuff that build up in your body and the levels and how fast they build up, a lot of them take about 4 or 5 weeks to actually build up to the levels where they could be toxic to your body. So it's about the same time frame. So then you switch back to, this one or that one. But as you're deficient in those amino acids, your brain, it's a miraculous thing. Like, it knows. Signals go off. It knows what the fuck is going on in your body, and it needs other things. And it's going to send that signal out that it doesn't want to eat this. It wants to eat that. A lot of times, people, okay, this is a perfect example. Client, I had Erin, who contacted me. She's like, I don't know what the fuck my problem is. She's like, I cannot stop thinking about salmon. Salmon. I want salmon every day, all day long. I just can't stop thinking about salmon. And I was like, why? She's like, I don't know, because I don't even really like salmon. So I kind of stepped back and said, okay, what is it in this fish that she wants so bad? Now, her brain, her brain was telling her that she needs a salmon because she was deficient in something. When we broke it down to figure out what it was, she's a surgical nurse in the cardiology unit. So what she does is literally 10 to 12-hour days standing in fucking surgery holding a human heart, not able to drink any water, eat any food, pee, and she stands there sweating. So she'll get out of, surgery after like 10 hours of fucking sitting there sweating in those fucking things where you sweat out a shitload of the salt. She's on a diet that's not necessarily salt-free, but it's not loaded with salt back. She'll drink a little bit of water, which actually leaves her a little bit dehydrated because there's no way she can fucking make up the amount of water she missed in that 12 hours by the time she goes to bed. And she's actually dehydrated and lacking salt. So her brain was telling her the salt in the fish is what I want. So what we did was pull the fish. I said, don't eat any salmon. This is what we're going to do. Take the salt shaker to fucking all your meals, just a few shakes on there. Within a day, she was fine. Didn't crave the salmon anymore. Her brain was telling her it needed the salt. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in your body that's instinctive to your body and is very primal and lets you know what the fuck is going on. And the biggest problem that most people have is interpreting those things and being completely honest with themselves. A lot of times you have, a blood sugar crash. And there are many people out there like, I have a blood sugar crash, I need a candy bar. Okay, you don't need a candy bar. You need glucose. Glucose is the best thing to use, but you'll absolutely say, I'd rather have a candy bar instead. I'd rather have some fucking Skittles. I'd rather have a Pop-Tart. Okay, technically you need some glucose. Technically you need table sugar. If you had a spoon of table sugar, you could throw that spoon of table sugar in your mouth right there, and because you can get sugar packets fucking anywhere, at any place, fucking Starbucks, wherever. Whack that sugar packet real quick, and you feel better a million times faster. But now you have the fat and the shit and all the fucking other shit that's in the Snickers bar because you use it as an excuse. You're not really honest with yourself about, I just need the glucose because my blood sugar is dropping. It's like, oh, this is an excuse to fucking do something else. So a lot of people don't necessarily misinterpret the signals, but they really use it as an excuse to fucking do things that they know they shouldn't fucking do, eat things they shouldn't fucking. It boggles my mind how you step back and go, well, I have blood sugar crashes, so that's why I keep Snickers bars on me. And I'm like, why don't you go to the CVS and get the little thing of glucose tablets, which is what a doctor would recommend for you if he's a good doctor. And that's what they have them there for, in case your insulin is too high and you've spiked your insulin as a diabetic, or if you have blood sugar crashes, they have these big fucking jars of glucose tablets. Or these little things look like tubes of toothpaste that you just fucking stick in your mouth, and it's fucking pure glucose. It works faster than table sugar and faster than a Snickers bar. It will make you feel better, and it's what your body actually needs. And you're like, oh, no, I don't want to fucking waste the money on that. It's like $2. You're spending $50 on fucking Snicker bars a month. You know what I mean? So you got to be completely honest with yourself with these things, deep down inside about what you're feeling and what, how to interpret these things. But it's a huge mistake, I think, when people kind of just don't pay attention to what their body's telling them. And, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time to learn how to do this shit. And it took me 20-something years to learn how to be honest with myself. Am I hungry, or is that thirst? Like, that's another thing. People, think that they're hungry and they're actually thirsty. If you had a fucking giant salad and a big-ass piece of chicken and 16 ounces of broccoli, but you're like, oh my God, I'm still hungry. No, you're not. You're not hungry. There's a false signal to your brain because you want a fucking Big Mac because you want it. It has nothing to do with being hungry. There's plenty of times where I've eaten that chicken breast salad and broccoli, and I sat there and I was like, oh, I'm just as fucking full as I was if I ate a fucking cheeseburger. I understand that. My body's nourished. I got the food in there. Do I still want a cheeseburger? I still want it, but I wouldn't eat it right now because I'm already fucking bloated. But there are people that actually trick themselves into thinking that they're still hungry because the diet food's not enough. And I'm like, it's hard to interpret those things and understand them. And I guess that's why so many people are doomed to fail at these things, because they're just not honest with themselves. BiosTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight, because this stuff is all instinctive. www.biostraining.com is a blog. It's the instinctive bicep. See how much leaner it is? And we're out.